Every once in a while, we tell our friends that we're going away for some boat time. We mostly go to the Gippsland Lakes, the network of lakes and rivers just ideal for our sailboat. It's a 22-foot gaff-rigged cutter. We've had it for over 30 years now. Many of our friends wonder how we can live comfortably in such a little sailboat, so let me tell you a little bit about it. I designed this boat to Robin's specification. She had 4 must-haves. From her perspective, it had to have a toilet and shower, standing headroom, a table where you could sit at and look out the porthole, and a clear hatch above our bed to see the stars at night. We had 2 boys at the time, so it also had to be livable for them as well. From my perspective, it had to sail well, be safe, and to fit on a trailer to take it to the Barrier Reef on an extended holiday. We managed to get all the things we wanted, and here, 35 years later, it's still just what we need. Now, a guided tour. Here's the anchor. I've had people say, that's a big anchor for a little boat. I say, well, it allows me to sleep at night. I set this firmly and go to bed knowing if the wind comes up tonight, I'll be safe. And that's not being pessimistic, it's being realistic, being prepared. It's based on the balance of probabilities. Or as Jim Rowan used to say, someday it will rain on your parade and hail on your crop. Not to think so is naive. I've had nights in crowded anchorages when the wind comes up around 2 or 3 in the morning. Pitch black, can't see a thing, and apart from those little headlights darting around frantically trying to set another anchor or put down chain instead of rope. And yes, I've had boats tied off alongside me because their rope broke or their anchor dragged. I think this is a good metaphor for life, because being securely anchored against the wind and tide is not just good for ourselves, it can often be someplace secure for those who, for whatever reason, find themselves adrift. And now the figurehead. Classic boats mostly had a figurehead. It went between the stem here and the bowsprit. I had an artist colleague sculpt one for me in clay, and then I made a silicon mould and cast this one in sintered bronze and resin. It's quite a talking point. I've been asked, how come a Christian man would have a thing like that on his boat? And I find this quite puzzling. I was with a good friend a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about the workshops he runs for Christian men addicted to pornography. I was surprised, especially when he told me that the addiction to pornography is about twice as high than among non-Christian men. I now realise that this figurehead means different things to different people. Perhaps I'm different. Of course I notice the beauty of the female form, as well as the beauty in a perfect profile, say in a classic wooden boat, or old sports cars, especially Jaguars. It is more common now, but they were the first ones I can remember that always had 2 exhaust pipes, an elegant symmetry. We can find beauty everywhere, works of art, not just in a gallery. That's how I view this figurehead. For me, it doesn't go beyond admiring the beauty of it. I think sexuality is a thing of beauty too. It has to be handled with care, it has value, it's a precious thing, it's somewhat sacred. And with this view, one can admire the beauty of the female form without any notion of taking it or using it. Perhaps it is possible that some Christian men have a confused view of sexuality as somehow wrong or forbidden, something that must be covered up and never exposed. And if they don't see it as beautiful and sacred in their own relationships, they probably have a distorted view of sexuality and think this figurehead shouldn't be there, or something like that. Perhaps I'm not the right person to be talking about that. Let's talk about something else. This is the mast. It's the thing that sets sailboats apart from motorboats. It holds the sails that catch the wind and drives the boat forward. It stands tall and proud, just like people who know what their purpose is in life. They face the wind and stay in place during the storms. We can admire them. But just remember, like this mast, they don't stay in place without support. It's often unseen, like these wire cables here. You can hardly see them, but they are just as important as the mast. If they let go, the whole mast comes down. You can think of supportive spouses in the background who keep the home fires burning, the kids fed and clothed, and all the while supporting their partner in the enterprise, the one that seems to get all the attention. I can see some self-sacrificing mothers out there nodding their heads in that knowing kind of way. This is called the Transom, and it has the boat's name on it, Degrees of Freedom. When I was designing and building this boat, I was also at university as a mature age student. I remember sitting in a lecture theatre one day. I think it was social research methods. And the lecturer was droning on and on about something that my brain couldn't grasp. Every now and again, this phrase kept coming up. Da-di-da-di-da-di-da-di, and so many degrees of freedom. Hey, that's a great name for my boat, I thought. Yeah, whoever thinks freedom is desirable or possible without limits is either naive or dangerous. Probably both. The Transom also has the name of the boat's home port. Robin and I celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary in Savannah, Georgia last year, one of the main shipping ports on the east coast of the US. We just loved to sit on the waterfront and watch the huge ship pass so close. They had grand names like Majestic Star or Ocean Monarch and so on. But when it came to home ports, they were registered to places nobody's ever heard of, and the ships probably have never been there. Couldn't go there if they wanted to because some of the places are landlocked. It is called flying the flag of convenience, not a real home port. For the ship has no home port. It sails all over the globe but has nowhere to call home. Aren't we glad we have a home port, a place we can go to in our minds where childhood memories are located, and also the place we now call home, where we feel we belong, a real home port, a haven from the storms, not some spurious idea we use for convenience. We hear the term rudderless, like he's quite rudderless now he's lost his job, things like that. Well, it is probably not that they've no rudder, it is that without full movement a rudder is useless. They might say, well, I don't know which way to go. I say it doesn't matter. Just get moving some way or another. Once you are moving, you can steer the rudder and you'll go places. These lakes have a lot of sandbars, and if you are not careful, you can run aground. You may ask, how do you know where they all are? Well, I don't. I only need to know where they are not. I know that by taking notice of what people who have gone before me found out, they've left markers. I follow them and stay afloat, not get stuck. This is Pete, the pirate. Our two boys, Roger and Douglas, were 10 and 6 when they first sailed on this boat, several months on the Whitsunday Islands. One of their favourite stories of the time was Don't Mess with Roger's Mum. It was about a little boy who ran away to sea on a pirate ship, had all sorts of wonderful adventures and lived like a pirate. However, when he came home, the pirates came with him. They were not used to house rules like eating properly, washing themselves, cleaning their teeth and doing laundry, things like that. The pirates weren't ready for such civilised living and they tried to rebel. But Roger's mum would have none of it. Her house, her rules, and look out if they didn't obey. So we see these brawny pirates washing themselves and their clothes, using knife and fork at the table and cleaning up after themselves. It was a good story, for we three pirates have learnt the same lesson. We don't mess with Roger's mum. Pete here, he reminds us of that. I hope you read good stories to your kids and grandkids, because really it can set them up for life. Being tied up to a jetty means we can easily go for a walk. This section of the lake network is alongside the ocean, separated by a strip of sand with tea tree scrub and sand dunes. But you have to watch out for snakes, because they live here too. Like this big tiger snake, deadly poisonous. Wise as serpents and harmless as doves. What could that possibly mean? Well, I've seen plenty of snakes in my time. Every one of them had the power to kill me, yet they didn't. They could fill me with poison, but they kept their mouth shut. I think there is wisdom in that. I don't fear them, but I keep out of their way. That's another good metaphor for life. So we leave our tea tree forest and trudge up through this sand dune, and we come up to what is known as the 90-mile beach. No need to ask you how long that is. And as we climb up the sand dune, we reach the top, a little bit puffed too, I might add. And here we have a view of Bass Strait for as far as the eye can see. 90 miles of uninterrupted white sand separating the sand dune and the land from the ocean itself. And you might have noticed not another living soul anywhere along the beach. Yeah, we like the isolation, but we do have neighbours. The guy on this side, he's a bit wishy-washy, no backbone. On the other side, we have several families. They're hard-working, they keep the grass down. The only problem is the grass is all underwater, so it's heads down and bums up for them. Well, I hope you've enjoyed getting an idea of our home on the water and the quaint little homilies that became part of the tour. I'll leave you with another Jim Rohn quote to remember. It is the set of the sails, not the direction of the wind, that determines which way we will go. Go well, my friends.